Why didn't Mom wake me up? I'm late again. I'm such a mess.
As teenagers, we feel pressure to excel in school because doing well in school means going to a prestigious college. But sometimes it is too much for us to handle. Even though mental health isn't talked about often, it affects everyone in many ways. We are all interconnected. When an individual experiences mental health issues, they are unable to reach their full potential. We asked teens and experts in our community what they thought about the issue. We surveyed over 160 people and conducted over 25 interviews.
Mental health is more about the amount of stress you can handle before you collapse and you have to go to sleep ultimately.
It's more about just tolerance, like how much crap you can really deal with.
Mental health is something just like our physical health, something that we need to pay attention to, that we need to check up on regularly, to check in with each other about regularly. It's just something that's part of everyday life. Whereas mental illness is something that when our mental health gets to a state that's unmanageable and not being taken care of properly, a mental illness can develop.
I definitely think stress is something that has like a huge impact on mental health, especially as teenagers in high school, when a lot of people are looking at you and this is a time where you have to figure out what the rest of your life is going to be like, or that's what you're told.
According to epidemiological studies, at least 20% of teens are struggling with some sort of mental health issue, and that's at least because a lot are probably not reporting any mental health issues. So that's quite a big number, and yet studies have shown that a lot of teens or adolescents don't even think that it's a problem.
There are aspects of stress that have affected me in the past, such as multiple projects sort of coming in at the same date. And those all those pressures sort of add up, but at the same time, I'm able to manage myself, so it doesn't really affect me as much as perhaps some of my classmates.
School stresses me out, but not to the extent that it would motivate me to do a lot better, and that is something that stresses me out because my future is on the line here, and if I don't take it seriously, then my future won't be the way I always imagine it, and that's scary for me. And every time I think about that, I just, shoot, what do I do?
When I come home late at night after going to an extracurricular or work, I still have a large amount of homework to complete and even studying for tests. That adds on to a lot of stress.
Is it steady? Okay. My teacher actually sent us off on our own with barely information on how to do this stuff. So I'm freaking out right now and I'm trying to figure it all out by myself. He said, this time you should drop and ignore all other classes to just focus on this project. So I'm aware this thing is going to be a huge part of our grade, but there's no way I can ignore any of my other classes because right after I work on this project, I've got an essay to work on and I've got a test to study for. This is the sad reality of it all, but I've got to endure it, so good luck to me.
My school is a pressure cooker, is considered one of the top, if not the top, high school in New York City, and I came there for the namesake, for the honor that these kids have. You're defined by what school you go to, you're defined by the level of education that you receive, and you're defined by how respected you are based on what you've done in life.
I feel like I need to be on par with everyone else at my school who are like geniuses, and often I feel like I have to fake it till I make it.
All I see around are perhaps parents preparing their children at such a young age to test prep for all these standardized tests.
I could care less what they think about me or what other people think about my school.
Originally, I wasn't really even planning to come to this school. Like, I didn't even think I would make it. My parents didn't think I was gonna make it, and it was just sort of like my friends were all decided to go all in onto this school. So I felt sort of left out. So I was like, why not?
I'm an investment, and that's my way of thinking. I feel really bad for saying that, but sometimes I think of them as just someone who gives me money so I can live.
My parents came to America for the sole purpose of being successful, raising a family, and giving their children all the opportunities that they couldn't have.
I think families play a large part in young people's mental health because we're still so connected to, I mean, throughout our lives we're connected to our family, but when you're trying to create your own identity as an adolescent and you're still living under your parents' rules and your parents' house, there's a conflict that naturally emerges. And I think it's more if parents are open to listening and open to communication, that's what's important.
I don't usually talk to my parents that often, right? Like when I would talk to them, I'm really chill with them, right? But the thing is, like seeing my mom come in and like comfort me, she's been doing that for like my whole life, right? Because I used to be a crybaby, and she'd just comfort me whenever I used to cry, and this is just something like really reminiscent of like the past, and it just showed to me that like she's my mother and she's there for me whenever I need her.
We never really get much heart-to-heart communication, but that's never really been a dynamic in our relationship. They do their job as parents, they cook for me, they work and make money, and they've been really focused on that, making money. So I don't talk to them that much, and that's probably not the most ideal relationship, but we don't argue a lot or anything, so I think it's pretty okay.
Parents are often struggling with their own stress and their own mental health stuff that they might not be acknowledging, and that translates to the kid oftentimes.
Whenever I talk to my parents, they either talk about what they've been doing at work or how I'm doing at school or how they notice that my grades have been going down or how I haven't been really working or they haven't seen me working.
They want something to brag about. They want something to be proud of. So success in itself is something that you can take pride in. And if you've taken care of your children up to this stage where they're all grown up, they're beautiful, they're aspiring for what they want, and they're successful.
What if I want to become an artist, Mom?
你做不来的 ，honest， 你以前画2天都没了画了，你不要跟我说那个 honest 没用。
Parents are often struggling with their own stress and their own mental health stuff that they might not be acknowledging, and that translates to the kid oftentimes.
以前都很穷啊，是不是？没有多少钱啊。然后妈妈也是觉得啊，然后妈咪的那个爸爸妈妈他们都很辛苦啊，是不是？然后都没有钱，都没有什么钱。然后我就想，哎，我不读书啦，然后我去赚钱啊，赚钱帮爸爸妈妈，可以赚一点点的钱，然后爸爸妈妈就不用这么辛苦啦。所以说我就没有读书啦。
As I got interested in mental health as a career and as an area of like academic interest, when I started talking to my parents about it more, again, it was a lesson in communication. Me telling them about it, me asking about it, opened a door for them to get educated about something. I'm 28 now, and I just found out that like my great-grandfather had schizophrenia, and it's like, no one had told me that before.
My grandma committed suicide because she had depression, and my mom didn't really pay much attention to her. She believed that depression pills were like not healthy and that they were like something that my grandma didn't need because mental illness wasn't that important or wasn't that much of a big deal to her family, and she didn't think it would cause the things that it did. And now she regrets it, but she never mentions it ever again. Whenever we go in the direction of our old house, which was where she committed suicide from, she just doesn't. She goes the opposite direction. I haven't been there in a really long time because she just avoids that area.
My sister, she was diagnosed with depression, clinic depression. And then that was during my middle school years, around 6th or 7th grade, right? And then my parents didn't notice at first because like it's something that they've never seen before, right? Yeah. So then when she finally exploded, it went down pretty horribly. My sister, she went to the hospital, and then she had her therapy, I guess, and then my parents attended sessions on, like, held by doctors and counselors on how to like deal with patients who have depression, right? So then they went to a couple sessions of that during the whole summer, and I accompanied them for a couple of them. So I know how to deal with them, like to encourage them, you have to be by their side, but you also have to let them do their own thing.
To de-stress, I like to go out and hang out with my friends.
Watching cat videos.
Like getting dinner or just walking around just makes you stop thinking about the stuff that stresses you out and just makes you want to have fun.
If I'm feeling stressed about a test, and my mom makes that good steak, Jesus, Lord, help me.
Games was a safe haven for me.
I do feel more comfortable talking to other students because they understand the scenarios better, and sometimes their parents just have the same response on repeat because it's been like a while since they've been in high school.